Hello friends and welcome back to the channel where today I am very excited to show you some gameplay from my rank 4 Dust here. Now Dust is one of my favorite mutant champs. Mutant class, probably the class that I enjoy the least in the game, but when it comes to mutants, Dust pretty much at or near the top. And similar to Ironheart, who you might know is another champ that I really enjoy, I feel like Dust is a champion who, when she came out, received very little interest, very little fanfare, and has only seen her value increase in the months, and actually it's been over a year since then. Now, Dust was my third rank 4. I actually ranked her up during the spring cleaning event, which was over a month ago now. But I wanted to wait until the war season wrapped up because I knew I was going to be assigning her to myself for a couple fights. Wanted to make sure I was able to include some war gameplay as well. So I have a bunch of fights to show you today. We're going to cover some basic damage rotations. We're going to cover some Act 9 gameplay. We'll talk about some Tier 1 Alliance War fights like I just mentioned. And then I want to talk briefly at the end about how she takes special advantage of the Horseman Prefight, because now that we have 7-star Apocalypses running around in the game, we can provide those Horseman Prefights a lot more easily, especially in a war situation. And Dust has a couple of neat things that she does with that Horseman Prefight. So now you might know I value a champion's utility a lot more than their damage output, but fortunately Dust has quite a bit of both, and I hope to show you off all of that stuff in this video today. Let's jump right in. Alright, we're going to start off with a rotation that I use most frequently with Dust, and that is the Special 3 rotation. So the general idea with Dust is that you want to be triggering sand debuffs on the defender, purifying them into sand passives, and then when you start a sandstorm, either with the heavy attack or the Special 3, all of those sand passives get transformed into prowesses on you, and that's what enables her to deal so much damage here. So we're going to build up to the Special 3 here. Doesn't really matter how much sand we get, just, you know, as much as we can get on the way to the Special 3. We're going to come out of here with about 2.9 bars of power because this Special 3 is going to cost essentially nothing. Fire off the Special 2, which has a passive stun at the end. That allows us to dash right in, full combo into a Special 1, and the Special 1 is actually going to end up killing him. So essentially 3 bars of power, and that's roughly 500,000 health down in, I think, 45 seconds. So pretty good, and you can use that rotation even for a mode like Battlegrounds as well. Now, there may be some instances where you aren't able to use your Special 3 or for whatever reason just want to keep the tempo of the fight going. And in those fights, you can still get access to her big damage by triggering a Sandstorm manually via her heavy attack. So in this fight, we're going to get up to around 2.9 bars of power. We're going to try and trigger a heavy attack without hitting her so that we don't accidentally push ourselves to 3 bars right here. Sandstorm is active. We've got our prowess. Immediately fire off the Special 2, which again gives us the passive stun. We can do a full combo into the Relic. We still got our power efficiency passives here, so we can fire off this Special 1, and you notice we're already at 1.9 bars of power, so we can bait out a special there, fire off another Special 1, and that's going to end up just about killing her. I think one more combo after that. So roughly 5 or so seconds slower than the SP3 combo, but still just as useful. Alright, let's move on into Act 9. This is a set of fights from a path in Act 9.2.1, node called Vanquished Vanguard, which basically says that the defender is going to build a protection, and you have to hit them with the striker with a prowess effect to remove it. Also has Power Shield, and a node called Persistent Pressure, where periodically the defender is going to be unstoppable. You can reduce the duration of this unstoppable with a prowess effect. So at the start of the fight here, really while we build up to our Special 3, we're going to let the protection build up. We're just kind of getting set up to nuke these fights down in one go. So we do kind of have to play around the unstoppable at the start of the fight because we won't have access to our prowess effects until we trigger a Sandstorm with the Special 3 here. So you can see we have 2 stacks of protection up, immediately fire off the Special 3. Now we're going to have our prowess effects when we come out of this, so the unstoppable won't be a problem anymore. And as soon as we use a striker, we will be able to eliminate the protection here. So 1 hit into the striker, protection is down, fire off the Special 2, and that actually destroys her completely. No need for the Special 1 follow-up. Moving on to another fight on the same path, we have a Joe Fixit here. Has about 900,000 health, so you can see these are pretty beefy defenders, and we do have Power Shield, which is giving, you know, a lot more damage for us on our special attacks, but we are still finishing these huge fights in like roughly a minute or so. So we're going to play this fight pretty much the same way we played that Elsa fight. I did lose a bit of health from a previous fight that I didn't end up showing because I played it really poorly. But our strategy is basically going to be the same. Build up as much sand as we can, build up to that special 3, and then once we fire it off, we're going to get all of our prowess. That takes care of the unstoppable. We have so many prowess that the unstoppable isn't even going to trigger, and then immediately fire off our striker to remove protection and hopefully burst him down with a single special 2. Now at this point I'm really just trying to get him at low power, so we're waiting for the unstoppable to clear. I didn't need to do that because one of the things about Dust is that she gets that grit passive while the sandstorm is active, so I actually could have launched the special 3 right there and just safely hit into him while the unstoppable buff was active, so a little bit of a mistake on my part. Firing off the special 2, not enough to kill him, so we immediately dash in, take advantage of that passive stun, fire off a special 1, and then sidestep into a second special 1, and down he goes. And then the last fight I want to talk about from this particular path is a Mole Man. Obviously, skill champs are going to be Dust's biggest matchups. Mole Man in particular is good because he will automatically start purifying these sand debuffs and turning them into sand passives on himself, and I think the defender takes a burst of damage when that happens as well. In addition, Mole Man has a mechanic where if you hit him into his block, he goes unstoppable. While Sandstorm is up, again, you get access to that grit effect with Dust, and you can safely tap his block in order to taunt him or pseudo-taunt him, I guess, and try and bait out specials that way. Again, same strategy as before, just building up to our special 3, trying to get him at low power, making sure that we have our striker available so that we can go ahead and clear the protection with it. Again, I don't wait on the, I should have not waited for the unstoppable to go away, but I guess I wanted to bait one more special out of him to get him at low power. Now he is at 0 power, we can safely fire off the special 3, get a whole bunch of prowess, and then hopefully nuke him down with special 2, special 1. Now Mole Man does have a lot of physical resistance in his kit, so these specials are not going to do as much damage as they did to Joe and to Elsa, but you can see that we're just dealing so much damage via power shield that we can kind of just overpower his physical resistance and get it done that way. One stack of protection came back near the end of the fight, but we were able to burst through it regardless. Alright, let's move on to some fights from another path in Act 9.2.2. Node called Seeing Red here, which gives mutants some bleed resistance. Doesn't really matter for Dust because she's bleed immune. Chitinous Thorns, which is a node that triggers a bleed when the defender has an armor up, and then Escalating Armor, which gives the defender an armor up here. And this path I wanted to show off a little bit of Dust's utility, specifically from her signature ability, which says that whenever you trigger a bleed on yourself, and she's immune to bleed, you have a % chance to trigger additional sand. And my Dust is at Sig 80, so roughly an 80% chance to trigger additional sand every time she would trigger a bleed, which in this fight is literally on every basic hit here. So a lot of opportunities on this path for additional sand debuffs. Now, as I've talked here, we've built up enough sand to trigger a sandstorm. We skipped the special 2 this time, or special 3 rather, and just fired off the special 1. And that is going to deal a whole bunch of damage here. I forgot to remove protection, so we just go ahead and out-damage it anyway, so no worries there. I'm going to try and not show skill defenders on this path because I want you to see that she is good for other types of fights as well. Now, Kushala is a pretty dangerous matchup for Dust because if you take a special attack and she nullifies one of your buffs, you do get those incinerates on you from her, which is going to remove the sand debuffs and ultimately lower your total damage output. So we have to be really careful here not to take a special 1 to the face from Kushala here. You can see that we're building up our sand passes at a much higher rate than normal, and again that's because of the bleed debuffs that we would be triggering on ourselves from Chitinous Thorns. Also skipping the special 3 in this fight as well, firing off the special 2, getting that nice passive stun. That's one of the best parts of her kit, is getting that passive stun after the special 2. It allows you to go right back in and stay aggressive, immediately combo, and follow up with a special 1 to try and end the fight. Same path here, we have a Quake here. I wasn't paying attention in the last fight if we removed protection or not. I know that we didn't do it in the leader fight, but I'm not really sure if we do it in this fight as well. Same strategy though, just building up as much sand as possible. And again, we don't really need this special 3 here because we're building up so much sand from Chitinous Thorns that we can go ahead and just fire off a special 2 to start our damage rotation. Going to build up to close to 2.9 bars of power and charge a heavy attack to trigger the Sandstorm. We have 2.9 bars now. Sidestep into the special 2 to unload some damage on Quake, and follow it up with a combo into a special 1. And that, of course, nice couple of 6-figure crits there, and we finish it off. Alright, last but not least, I know I said no skill defenders, but Nick Fury is like a special kind of skill defender, right? Because you have 2 lives to go through whenever you fight him. So again, same node, same lane, same strategy here. We're going to be building up extra sand on him. I don't remember if I used the special 3 or not in this fight. In general with Nick, you want to make sure that you convert these sand passes into prowess before he gets into second life, because he will remove all negative effects from himself, which includes both the sand debuffs and the sand passes. So if you don't activate your Sandstorm before he triggers his second life, you're going to be stuck with nothing when he comes out with that LMD here. So he's at about 50% left in his first life. We go ahead, trigger the Sandstorm, convert all that sand into prowess, firing off the special 2 here. This is not going to stun him, of course, because he's going to be stun immune in his second life. So we're going to sit here and land a nice intercept, fire off a special 1, and we have almost completely destroyed his second life. One more special 1 does it. That is 2 lives of Nick Fury down in roughly a minute or so. Alright, let's move on to some Alliance War gameplay. First fight we have here is a Korg up on node 19. This is path 1B, the first node, with Reinvigorated and Unblockable, High Energy Diet, and Indomitable. Now with High Energy Diet, obviously you don't want to use any Mystic characters here who are good Korg counters. Dust's damage is all physical, which makes her a really, really fantastic counter for this fight. Now you are going to probably trigger the Unblockable from Korg at some point here, just from dashing back to dodge his special attacks, but you have more than enough damage to kind of kill him before it becomes truly problematic. You are potentially triggering additional rock stacks with your debuffs on him, but again, if those sand debuffs are getting purified, you're just triggering more sand passives on him. And you can see once we get to the special 3 here, we're going to fire that off. That removes his entire rock shield, gives us an opening here to fire off his special 2, and immediately follow up with a combo. And he was unblockable the whole time, but more or less stunned, and we got out of there in just under a minute here. Alright, this is actually the very next fight from the same war, and I realize that this is just an Ascended 6-star, but in my defense, the 7-star Nick Fury actually didn't exist at the time this war was happening. And I knew that going in here we were going to have a lot of extra regen, because Dust doesn't have any protection from Nullify, which means she is going to be triggering that buffet over time node every time it's available from her precision buff on the decks. And then we have no way to stop his healing from the Arc Overload node as well, because all the sand passives are just that, passives. They don't really interact with Despair, so we can't, counteract the healing that way. So not only do we have 2 lives of a Nick Fury to get through here, we also have even more to get through because, again, of all that regen. So I'm going to go ahead, build up to our special 3 here, get our damage going here, and he is going to go unblockable if we don't punish his special attack, so we do want to, again, push him to a special 2. Follow up there with a combo. We pushed him too close to 3 bars, so we have to back off. Back in with a combo here, firing off a special 1. And again, very important that we trigger that Sandstorm before he hits that second life, for the same reasons I talked about earlier. We don't want to lose all of our sand before triggering, or when we trigger his second life. He's now in second life. We have a few seconds left on the Sandstorm here, so we're going to go ahead, throw off one more special 1, and he's got a bunch of regen going. We've got one more special 1, so after like a full damage cycle here, he is roughly, almost dead here. And again, there's so much extra regen in this fight that I kind of knew that was going to happen, but one additional special 2 bait and a combo finishes him off. Alright, moving up to a Gladiator on the Node 41 Mini with Scared Stiff and Power Focus 2. I'm not really sure about this placement, but we use Dust here just in case that he started firing off special 1s. She has the Grit effect to counteract the Unstoppable from his Special 1. That being said, he has Power Focus 2 here, so it's really easy to push him to his Special 2, which is the special that you want to bait anyways, because there's no associated effects with it unless you get hit by it. So really in this fight, it's just a matter of trying to avoid the root for as long as possible and making sure that you punish his special attacks to trigger the attack tactic, which gives you an unblockable if you punish the special attacks. So right there, we are able to trigger a Sandstorm, no Special 3 required, fired off the Special 2, and we are able to get enough power for a second Special 2, which clears that mini-boss in like 40 seconds. Alright, moving on, we have an Attuma up here on 5B, the second node with Mighty Charge, and in this fight, I knew it was a very safe matchup for Dust. I wanted to see kind of what her damage output would look like if I chose not to use the Sandstorm at all. So just basic attacks and just normal special attacks, no prowess here. Now with Mighty Charge, he is going to be removing the sand debuffs, any that are unpurified, but any that we are purifying ourselves are still getting converted into those sand passes. And with Mighty Charge, he's also removing his own concussions, which makes this kind of a questionable placement here. So again, why I was kind of comfortable attempting this method of playing Dust on this specific node here. So Special 2 did a pretty decent amount of damage. We made sure to get the Fury up from Ebb and Flow Intercept. And so essentially 3 bars of power, a Special 2 and a Special 1, still enough without all the prowess to get through that fight. Alright, last war fight I want to show you, probably one of my favorite from the season. This is a rank 4 Nick Fury on node 18 with Hazard Shift, Shock, and Poison. Dust is of course immune to both Shock and Poison, so she completely counters that node. And with Feat of Indestructible, you only get to your Special 1 or your 1 bar of power one time during the fight. Because of all of the power efficiency that she gets. So essentially in this fight, we're just playing a lot of block baiting, pushing him to the Special 2. A little bit difficult to do that with Power Focus 1, but he's being very cooperative. Going to bait this Special 2, and then again, the goal here is to activate our prowess from those sand passives before we trigger his second life. We want to throw that Special 3 as close to the end of his first life as possible to guarantee maybe that we can use the Special 3 to push him into that second life. From there. So we're getting him down here. He's at 9%. We're going to throw the Special 3, and this gives us plenty of room to convert the prowess without losing all of our sand. This actually does push him into the second life. We can sidestep into our Special 2 here as soon as we bait that heavy attack. And no stun again because he's in second life. Holding block, firing off the Special 1, and that is a rank 4 Nick Fury done in about a minute and change. Really, really impressive stuff. Alright, the last thing I wanted to cover today is how Dust benefits from the Horseman Prefight. So we're on the CCB server, we have this Crossbones here with 1 million health, and the biggest benefit from Dust is the Horseman Prefight allows you to go passively unblockable for a few seconds every time the defender purifies a debuff. Now with Crossbones here, he's obviously going to be purifying debuffs on his own, but Dust also purifies her own sand debuffs as part of her kit. So if you keep an eye on her side of the screen, you can see that we're going to be passively unblockable for significant portions of this fight. And there are a lot of really good applications for something like this. Obviously being unblockable is most of the time better than being blockable, right? But something like Brute Force or the Bane node where the enemy is turtling up, you really need to hit them to either transfer the degen timer or prevent the Brute Force timer from going off. Being unblockable allows you to just tap them once and then immediately back off and continue with the tempo of the fight here. So going for the Special 3 rotation here, we have a whole bunch of sand, which gave us 100 prowess here. And I wanted to show you that even in a large health pool like this, without any attack modifiers like Furies or the bonus damage from like Power Shield, she is still able to chew through a health pool of this size with relative ease. And even if she doesn't, her rotation is so easy to use and understand that you can just start it over without any difficulty here. That is a 1 million health Crossbones down in a minute and 17 seconds, and again, that's no boosts, no ouchies, no attack modifiers of any kind. That's going to do it for this one, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. Dust is so much fun to use, packed with utility, loads of damage, and I'm really, really pleased with having her at rank 4. If you made it this far into the video, please leave me a comment below that says it's getting dusty in here. And as always, thank you very much for watching. See you again next time.